Hello, this is Stephen Hallman, a solutions engineer at DomainTools. And today we're going to go through how to set up a DomainTools API-driven feed into Splunk Enterprise Security. We'll be talking about NOD for the most part, newly observed domains, but this should apply to most of our feeds with small tweaks here and there. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure we're in the Enterprise Security app. So once we're there, we'll go over to configure and then threat intelligence. That will take us over to the current threat intelligence sources and allow us to create a new one. So in the top right, we'll do new and then do line oriented. From there, we'll just fill out this information that you see here in front of you. Some of this is going to be your own options, whatever you'd like to fill in for things like name. Some of this will be important later on, so whatever you do use, make sure to annotate for future queries when we start querying on the name and things like that. So you can see me putting in the name, the description. Type is important. We want to make sure to put domain so that it lines up with other objects that are already in Splunk Enterprise Security. The main purpose of this is going to be to make sure that we're integrating with the existing enterprise security framework in terms of the domain related data. So here we're going to make sure we're putting in the correct regular expression. We'll have documentation out that helps with this as well, where you can copy that from, but you can also use the same one that's used in this video. This is going to parse out the timestamp as well as the domain fields in the feed. Those are the two, each line is its own JSON object, and those are basically the two objects that we want to pull out from each line. The timestamp you can rely on Splunk automatically doing timestamps as well if you'd like, but this ensures that we carry over whatever timestamp is associated with that individual JSON object so that we know the discovery timestamp for that specific domain and not just when it was brought into Splunk. So we don't need an ignore. We can leave that blank. The fields, we're going to just, same thing that you see in the regular expression, right? We'll put in what fields we want to transform and bring into the index. We don't have any header lines, so we can skip that for this specific API. So now we will, one thing too, is we want to make sure, like I said earlier, that we have the name down, because that's what we will be querying on. Once that's created, you can search for that in here. And you can see here that this has been created and is turned on. And we can go forward with trying to query that. So we'll have some sample queries as well in documentation, but for your own visualization, you can see here, I'm going to query that data that's now being brought in by that feed. I'm going to copy this specific query from our documentation that transforms it a little bit, makes it a little bit more visually digestible. So here you can see where we have the timestamps for those specific domains, as well as the domain itself, and then the threat key, which was the name that we did earlier. If you just want to see more of the raw data here, you can see that, where this is just the typical Splunk epoch timestamp and domain and threat key. And that's how you set it up. Thank you very much.